Mashiach ben David ben Eliyahu. Mashiach ben David. Calling Eliyahu. Eliyahu Goldschmidt, Eliyahu Shar. Eliyahu. I'm going to skip the approbations. It's important to remember that all the Pnimius of Chassidus comes through Achia and Shlanid, who taught the Baal Shem Tov, who was Shaykh with the Novi. Everything comes through the Gili of Eliyahu Zachor Ltov. We got the Oris of Mashiach. We're learning Torah, Chassidus, Hashem, Skalis, Melech HaMashiach, Bakar of Mamish. Good vach. So we are after Yud Shevat. It's a holy, holy time, and it's a very good time to begin the Tanya.
Wow, yeah.
Yud Shevat is the Nesias of the Rebbe, and when I mean the Rebbe, you can say Shlita, the Bracha, however you go. The main thing is the Chabad Rebbe became the Rebbe Yud Shevat. And he was the 7th Rebbe, all the way from the Baal Tanya, and the Frierdiker Rebbe was Mastalik. So we have Eliyahu Nishmas, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and we get the opportunity to now learn the Yesod of Chassidus, which is the Sefer Tanya, a little bit more maybe understandable. Like the Likutei Moharan was Kisvei Ari and high.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole Nakuda was to bring it to Das, as we saw again and again.
Yeah.
But Chochma Bina Das is a little bit more explained out, the process of how we get to the Das and the Keser and the Pnimius. So the idea that Tanya, basically, remember the Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi, Switzerland with Ben Baruch, he was a special light that came into the world, Chayelo.
Yeah.
The Baal Shem Tov misguided himself, Chayelo, and he very much considered the Baal Tanya his grandson of Chassidus. That he was the one who was going to organize and compilate, how do you say it? Organize and bring a compliment. I don't know, there's a way of saying it, but I've forgotten how to say it in English. But he was
the whole Shlichus idea.
Yeah, he obviously I wasn't chosen, but anyway, he was the Rav, he was the Shulchan Aruch Rav, the one chosen to make sure it was Masudah in his time. Personally, I'm named after Rav Eliyahu as Dessler. You also got an Eliyahu in your name. So Rav Dessler was one of the first big mashgichim to bring the Tanya into the yeshivish world.
Oh, really?
And now it's already somewhat makabel that people around the world learn Tanya no matter what you are. But you have to know, before we start learning Tanya, there is a way to learn Tanya in terms of in the Chabad Derech. I'm not Chabadnik, Lagamre, but if you look, as Rav Shlomo said, whether not Chabadniks, yeah? It was a good line he said yesterday in the shul after before Musaf. The idea that we're not Chabadnik, meaning that we still have to have covet and connection to the whole shtalshus of Chabad. And as you can see, the layout of the Tanya, it's written in a unique way, and I've mentioned this in my own summary share that I've been doing a summary share since the beginning of Chita's began every week. So now it's going to be good. We're going to do more Be'in. The idea that it's laid out in such a way that it's Torah Shabbat Peh. It's like Torah Shabbat Peh of Chassidus. So you see it's different, the way it's laid out. It's not a usual Sefer with Nakudas or written in the same. It's written more like a Chumash.
Yeah.
Because the Pnimis of the point is that it's like we're learning the Torah Shabbat Peh, Torah Shabbat Ksav of Chassidus. There is a lot of approbations from Reb Zusha and Huda, and it's important to know that they're there.
The Hakdamas are from Reb Zusha, and then someone else was.
There's also a preface in the Babich Rebbe. In this edition, it says Shlita, so like I said, there's different. Maybe it was written that long ago. I don't know. But the idea is compiled from Sefer Benonim sages. It begins. This is important. This is right at the beginning. It says this. By Sefer books, Sefer Benonim. That's another important concept. Remember, we said Likutei Moharan Sefer B'Shoim. Right. Focusing on the Likutei Tovos. He calls this the Sefer Benonim. This edition of the Tanya. It's from Chabad itself, so we can trust it. I think this was the Karnei Hod Torah was put out by Ltov Rebbe himself, so it's a very authoritative edition. Compiled from sacred books and sages, all to saints whose souls are in Eden, based on the verse, for it is exceedingly near to you in your mouth and in your heart to do. And we know that's a pasuk in Devarim, near the end of the Chumash. And that pasuk is a very important part when you're learning Tanya to have that in mind. In Hebrew, it's Kikar v'lecha davar ma'od b'ficha levavcha la'soiso. It's a good Avram Fried song, if you remember.
Of course.
To explain clearly how it's exceedingly near in a lengthy and short way with the aid of Holy One, may he be blessed. And this was Yud Tet Kislev. Remember, they divide up the Tanya from Yud Tet Kislev until Yud Tet Kislev. Every year we finish the Tanya. I've been learning it since 1998, 99. Wow. So that's 26 years almost. And the first time I actually learned the Tanya, I didn't, not the Chitas, not from the English edition or the Chabad.org.com. The first time I actually learned it with a Chavrusah was with a big Rav in Belz. His name was Moshe Chonet. He's still around. I spoke to him the other day about Breslov Torah, but he's also a big Bach in Chabad Torah. And he was my first Chavrusah. He used to come out of his way sometimes to learn me, so sometimes I went out of my way to learn with him, where he lives, in Belz area, and in Yerushalayim, so Irakodesh. And he learned with me was first Shah Yichud Emunah, right, and Hinach Cotton. He learned those parts of the Tanya first, which is later on in the Sefer. And the reason was he first wanted to clarify the concept of Yichud, unification, the whole Indian of his bonus, and he really wanted to get straight away into it. But we're going to do it according to, as you requested at the beginning of Sefer Tanya, and that's how I've been learning it for 26 years, year after year, as most Chabadniks, or not Chabadniks learn. Right. Yeah. Chanchitas is Rosh Tevis, Chumash, Tehillim, Tanya. Right. So what we're doing in the shul, finishing Tehillim every day, and then finishing it every month, is what I've been doing for 20-something years, and also Chumash Rashi. So that's how you connect to the daily limit of the Chabad, and it gives you chitas. Chitas is very important, and my son actually has gone to Gaza with the chitas, with the Sefer Chitas from the original Shliach, who was sent to England by the Rebbe. He has the copy from his son's chitas with him in Gaza, fighting in Khan Yunis. Wow. And we'll have him in mind, Baruch Ben Masha as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, and all the other soldiers should be matzliach. Okay. Likutei Moharan. Sefer Benonim. It's right at the top of the Sefer. It says Sefer.
Does yours have the introduction?
Not really.
I've read through this. I think I did it last year. I was reading through it.
Good. Let's just start the Tanya. So we actually begin at the beginning of the Sefer, right, rather than getting caught up in anything.
But is it like do they put? I'm just curious more.
Here they put approbations.
Oh, just the
and they brought right at the beginning of the Sefer. They brought from I think the Rebbe.
Oh, they don't actually have this part.
They call him the Rebbe Shlita. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that a lot, especially.
Chassidus in general, Chabad in particular, is all embracing world out of the way of life, which sees the Jewish purpose as unifying nature between the Creator and creation. Oh, we can read it.
No. This part here, I'm just curious, but it doesn't look like they have it.
I don't know who this
is. This is from the Balatanya.
Yeah. Not familiar with this English edition.
Yeah, the Alecha Mish. This is the.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just fascinating. He writes why he wrote the Tanya, the different parts of it.
I mean, I've been told this concept by Rebbeim, that the reason why he wrote the Tanya is that he was a big Rebbe in Russia, and
right, and he was being inundated
with endless shilas in Avodas Hashem.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tissue.
No problem. So he's inundated in endless shilas in Avodas Hashem, and all those shilas added up to be overwhelming. So he wrote the Sefer Tanya to give everyone hadracha in Avodas Hashem. But that's not the only reason. Like there's,
and he writes in there that, and he writes in there
people were coming to him about financial matters, and that's not really what a Rebbe's for. Yeah, the Rebbe's here for Am Yisrael to connect to Hashem in a real way, and he had a Masorah from the Baal Shem Tov and the Magen Mezrich, who was his Rebbe. But you also have to know that there was a Gilui of, I mentioned this before, but you came, Eliyahu Novi. Everyone sings about Shabbos Eliyahu Novi. Eliyahu Novi and Achiyah ben Shalom would megala themselves to the Rebbes. Yeah,
right.
So they were bringing a Masorah that goes all the way back, as we've mentioned before, as the Arizal, the Baal Shem Tov, like all the not the Baal Shem Tov and the Rashbi, the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Today's Aliyah, Parshas B'Shalach, it says Bereish Gilei. Bereish Gilei has in it Rashi Tevis, Rabbi Yisrael Bar Shem, has in Bereish Gilei, has Rashi Tevis Rashbi, has a Rashi Tevis Shlomo ben Yisachi, which is Yitzhak ben Shlomo, which is the Arizal. In today's Aliyah, we go out Mitzrayim with Biyad Ramah. That's the translation Bereish Gilei.
Yeah,
that the Targum brings. That is a hint, remez. The way we're going to go out Mitzrayim and we're going to go out Golos is with the Gilui of these Tzaddikim. Now, what the Tanya did, as I said, compiled. That was what I was looking for. He compiled all the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and the Tzaddikim Nisarim and brought it to life in a systematic way of thinking.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that he had that koyach, I mean, many reasons, he was on big neshama, neshama beyond words, but he also was a descendant of the Maharal of Prague. And I mentioned in my other shirim, the Maharal of Prague was very masuda, had a whole system, had a code system. I think he was also a descendant from the Shlal Kodesh. He's also a descendant of David HaMelech. So he has all the yichus to do the shlichus of being compiled, this Panemius Torah for the Baal Shem Tov. So he was the ultimate compiler of Chassidus. And if you go into his other Svarim, like Likutei Torah, or very big Svarim of Chassidus, and then you go into his children and all the way through to the Bavitcher Rebbe himself, there's so much Torah of Chassidus that you could just spend the rest of your life learning. So he by doing this began like the as I said, the Torah Shebeksav of Chassidus is now, and that's why it's written out in this interesting way, like it's unusual. You know?
Yeah.
So let's go. The Likutei Moharan, this famous Sefer Benonim, famous beginning, Perek Aleph. Yeah.
Yes.
Tanya. This is it. Tanya says the holy Tanayim. Yeah, it's based on a Gemara in Nida. Sof Perek.
Is that why this is called Tanya?
Yeah.
Because the first word is Tanya.
Yeah, but there's another reason. Tanya is also Osis Eitan, which a lot of people talk about when they name their kid Eitan, but there's another reason. Because Eitan means a strong river or something like that. Right. It's a strong power to give us the koach to fight at the end of days. That's another reason why it's called Tanya, because Osis Eitan means strength. And it's giving us strength. Tanya also brings us into the Torah Shabbat Peh, which is very important. And the next word is in some ways even more important than the Tanya.
Right.
Mashpiah Moso. Yeah, Mashpiah Moso. The way you say it, Mashpiah Moso, and Ophir is ministered to him. Right. Now we could literally spend, and I listened to Shirim on Tanya, that they literally spend a few weeks on this first words.
Right.
Yeah, of Mashpiah Moso Tia Tzaddik. That you take an oath upon yourself to be what? To be a Tzaddik. Mm-hmm. So, what does it mean? So, Mashpiyim, the way the Tzaddikim bring down Moshe Wilson and other, they heard from their Rebbe and Rav Shlomo Mendelovich, who heard from all the way back, wherever their Masorah was, all the way back in Hungary or wherever it was. The Mashpiyim also, Tia Tzaddik, is you can take the base with ba and pa and switch it to pei. Yeah, because there's a concept of the Hey Hamotzim Apeh. It's brought down in Shaykh Limuna, this concept again and again. You have 5 different ways of pronouncing the Aleph base with your mouth. And the ba and the pa is the same with the lips and everything. It's the same part of that mouth. So the ba and pa are interchangeable. So Smashpiyim also, Smashpiyim. This is a very big concept in Chabad, the idea of having a Mashpiah. Connecting yourself to someone who's Mashpiah. They call Rav Moshe Weinberger the Mashpiah in YU and other places. Yeah. There's an idea of having a Mashpiah. Somebody's Mashpiah and you Mekabel.
When Joey Rosenfeld was the quote unquote Rav of our shul in New York. He didn't want to be called the Rav, so he called him the Mashpiah.
Mashpiah.
That's the only agreement that he agreed to.
Wow. Mashpiah Moso.
Mashpiah, to be called a Mashpiah. So he was our Mashpiah for like 8 months or something.
Wow. So that's an important concept of being Mashpiah also. But what it really means for us personally is Mashpiah Moso, that this concept of taking a vow wasn't just something that spiritually we did in the Olam HaEmes. The whole point is it's meant to affect our daily life.
Right.
Remember, the whole Indian of Hashem bringing us down to this world is to make us into a tzaddik, to make us into someone who can bring Hashem Shekhinah into this world, in the physical world, to bridge the body and the soul, to turn darkness into light. We're going to see again and again in Tanya these concepts from the Zohar, from Shem Chai. It's going to bring it. This concept of transforming this world into a world of Ruchnius is the challenge of Chassidus, and especially with the fact that Mashiach is coming a few hundred years after the Sefer. And the fact that the Mashpiah Rebbe himself said that the time's up already, this is it. All the promises, everything's, all the guarantees of Mashiach have already been fulfilled in terms of when it was supposed to happen. So now it's just a matter of it happening. So based on that Masorah from the Mashpiah Rebbe, if Mashiach should be already, so really the Dira Tachtona should be complete. We're ready already to have a Shekhinah Kedosha. But so the question is for the individual, is Mashpiah Moso? Are you allowing that vow to influence your daily life? Mm-hmm. Is it affecting you? Are you still connected to your shorish, your panemius, like we were learning with Likutei Moharan, going back to the root level of our soul that was wanting to come here to be a tzaddik? It didn't come here to just play games, get caught up on FIFA or whatever rubbish it is, or to just make money and die. It was much more than that. You came into this world to be a tzaddik. That's the point. Mashpiah Moso Tia tzaddik. That means a tzaddik means doing what's in Hashem every day, all day, every day, and that means strengthening the neshama, that your soul should be sholet on your guf, should be all over your body, and we're going to see that again and again. So the Tanya brings the Gemara Mashpiah Moso Tia tzaddik as the beginning of Tanya to remind us of this intrinsic panemius. That in a way, the whole Sefer can be summed up in this beginning quote from Gemara Nida, that we are here to be a tzaddik, and the way we're going to get to be a tzaddik is by connecting to the Torahs of the Benonim. Right. Because most of us are not going to be a tzaddik, Gomor, the way He's going to define it. So, and we're not. None of us are going to be. Only a very small minority, and maybe a tzaddik Sheina Gomor, but more likely we're going to be on the level of Benoni, and that means that the connecting yourself to this vow of being a tzaddik will give you ability to be Benoni. Because the problem is, if you're not going to have the aspiration of being a tzaddik, you're probably going to be a Russia. It's either that way, or it's either that way. Who's
doing the Mashpiah? Who's they?
So that's a good question. It's like Shemayim in a way. It's ministering to him before birth. Yeah, you could say the Malach that's there. So it says here, the soul of the Jew sends into the body for a person also to fulfill a specific mission, spiritual world, to fulfill in heavenly oath as minister to him, heavenly. So it's from Shemayim. To be righteous and not be wicked. That's the next part of the thing. But Al Tia Rasha. Don't be a Rasha. That's the next part of the Tanya. Mashpiah Moso Tia Tzaddik, Val Tia Rasha.
Right. It's almost like it's not just, it's like to be a tzaddik and don't be a Rasha. Yeah. It's like a little chiddush to be there, right?
Yeah, and another translation is Sefer. He says here, that you should be masvim. You should be satiated being a tzaddik. That should keep you fulfilled. That's what gives you purpose in life, to be a tzaddik, not to be fulfilled, that you fulfill full, satiated, not from just by serving Hashem.
Right, that's probably where you got the idea of it.
You don't care if you got 1 million subscribers or 5 subscribers on YouTube, Instagram, and all these nonsense apps. You don't care about any of that. All it is Mashpiah Moso. You just want to be a tzaddik. So if you're a tzaddik, that's what fulfills you, nothing else. And that's the true understanding of a neshama. I'm getting caught up on all this, clout and all this stuff that goes on nowadays. Now, this we're going to go into this. There's going to be a bit of a, pilpul or a machlokas a little bit between different makoris about where we're going to go with this concept of, and even if the whole world says to you, you're a tzaddik, see yourself like a Russia in your eyes. Now, if we go only with that, straight away you should have a question. If I would say I'm a Russia, now we learn.
Sounds like
we learn the Likutei Moharan, and the Chassidus is all connected. There's not going to be an argument in Chassidus.
It's all from the same.
In the end, in the Panemius, there's not going to be an argument. So what's the problem if you're going to call yourself a Russia?
Right, you're gonna go down into a pretty bad pit there.
Oh, so that's the problem. You're going to end up depressed, and depression is the opposite of Chassidus, and that's all agreed by all of Chassidus. There's not like machlokas on that. Not like, this Rebbe said that and this Rebbe said that. Everyone in Chassidus is against depression and atzvah. It's nothing to do with Chassidus. Chassidus is simcha. The Ikka klal from the Arizal, there was two big klalim from the Arizal and the Baal Shem Tov. The klal from the Arizal was simcha. That was his dagesh.
From the
Arizal
was simcha?
Yeah. My Rebbe talks about it as well. The only way you can really learn Kabbalah or Panemius is through simcha. If you don't have simcha, you're not really learning it. I said my Rebbe told me him personally. He said to me, if you want to be Mashpiah, you want to be Mashpiah Moso. Yeah, I want to be a Mashpiah, Reb Lezer. You want to teach in these yeshivas, and I was teaching in those days when I asked him this. And I said, it doesn't seem like it's working out. He said, you're not simchadik enough, as he told me. Wow. So you want to be Mashpiah, you have to do it b'simcha.
And then look at some of the huge tzaddikim of our time that are
successful
and really. It's like you look over
last night. They beat him. I saw him last night dancing back and forth.
Yeah, he just smiles.
Jumping on the stage with a l'chaim. Yeah, Freile, happy, making everyone Freile.
I've been with Rabbi Arush, just me and him a couple of times.
Yeah, simcha.
He just every few seconds, he just his
smiles.
face he smiles at you. It's like you see, there's almost like an avoda there.
He used to see me every time. I see him almost every day with Arush because I worked with him for 5 years. Yeah?
Wow.
And I traveled with him. He used to come to me, Eli, smile. He used to say it all the time. Eli, smile. He used to say it all the time. My Rebbe as well. Are you happy? The Blazer. Are you happy? He called me the Blazer. Orish called me Eli.
Right.
Everyone called me different names. The point is, smile. I don't care.
Right, they
smile.
All just smiled, right.
Happy. Are you happy? He saw me the other day. You happy in a frat? I said, right now I'm thinking about my son in Gaza. That's what I said in front of the whole Olam. I want everyone to daven for my son. So my Rebbe said, to me, he said, he's going to come back, B'Shalom, everything's he'll be B'Seder.
Right. This is the Tanya Rebbe?
Tanya Rebbe. I'm going to go see him.
Does he speak English?
Yeah. I'm going to go see him this week in Tu B'Shvat, Suda. I'm going to go to Tish, Metzl Shamblin. And then I'm going to try to go back to Yerushalayim for a Shabbos in another few weeks. I'm looking to probably Yisro. Parshas Yisro is a big Shabbos to be by your Rebbe, because it's Kabbalah Torah. And to pay for Yom Tov in Yerushalayim is really expensive. Shavuos, Hashem Shemenu, Hashem should bless me. I don't have the shefa to go there for Shavuos probably. And it's nice here as well. I had a good time there last time.
Right.
But I am already foreseeing I'm probably not going to be able to afford to go. I can't even afford for Shabbos, but I'm that I can figure it out. So to go for Shabbos Yisro, it's all triple the amount once it comes Yom Tov. Yeah?
For Shabbos Yisro.
So Yisro has in it the aura of, because what we learned the other day, the Kriya is more Zman. So when you read about it, you read Parshas Kabbalah Torah, so you're already tuning into the light. So right now Parshas B'Shalach, it's only 2 weeks away, there's already Shabbos Yisro. We're going through the Yam Suf this week. So we're going Bereish Gilei, we're going B'Yad Ramah. But the problem is, begins the Tanya bringing a Gemara, and he then brings, as we can see, brings another Mishnah from Pirkei Avos.
Yeah. This
is Avos Shtaim, famous Perek Avos in Perek Shtaim. Yeah, famous Mishnah. Yeah, and it's emes. Yeah, right. Be not wicked in your own estimation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh wait a minute. Previous Gemara. Sorry. Be righteous, be not wicked, even if the whole world judging you tells you that you're right. Regard yourself as wicked. Yeah, it's all based on the Gemara of Nida. Sorry. So that whole concept is all from Masechtas Nida. Let's clarify. This whole concept, this difficult Gemara. Mashpiah myself, I was happy with that. Yeah, all of Chassidus was happy with that. Mashpiah yourself to be a tzaddik. But then the Gemara continues in Nida, before we get to Pirkei Avos, the Gemara continues in Nida that you don't be a Rasha. Because if everyone says you're a tzaddik, you're a Rasha in your eyes. 1 minute. That's a contradiction. Within the Gemara, it's not another Gemara. I made a mistake. It's not a Mishnah. It's the same Gemara in Nida telling you, let's get clear, don't be a Rasha. But even if the whole world calls you a tzaddik, in your eyes be like a Rasha.
Right.
So what would you say the positive, before we go into the next Mishnah, which is from Pirkei Avos, before we get into that, before we bring another Mishnah, what would you say? How I know what my answer would be to deal with this straight away.
Right, yeah, it would be to have to more of like an anivus, to be more.
Exactly what I was going to say. Humility, 100%. So you already got the Nakuda. You have to. The Chassidus also does go together with humility as well. Because if you're talking about a very big clown Chassid, especially Chabad, it's bitter yesh. You have to nullify the ego. So this is a Gemara teaching you to nullify your ego. So who cares what the world says? The world calls you a tzaddik. In your eyes, you've got a lot of work to do. That's
this Gemara sounds like a Gemara you can really spend a long time on.
Just this one Gemara.
Like, what's the idea of a Rasha? What's the idea of a tzaddik?
That's what I'm saying.
How can they even make?
I've heard people give over Tanya. They don't move from this beginning part.
How can whoever it is that's making the shvuah? What effect is that shvuah? Does it have like a real din shvuah? Can someone up there make a shvuah on my behalf? Like
no, you said yeah. Right. That's the point. The point is you agreed to it. You're not allowed to come to this world without doing this whole avodah of shvuah. That's based on the Gemara Nida, from what I remember learning it. Right. It's based on the fact you took on yourself to bukayim this shvuah.
But I was unborn. I wasn't even bardas yet, right? Or
no, you were. You were in the olam and neshamas. That's what I'm saying. You were in the olam and neshamas. And the neshama says, I want to go down to this world in 2024. I'll be, however old I'll be, 40 more, whatever it is. I'm 43. And I agreed in all those years ago, Tav Shin Mem, I think it was. Yeah? Tav Shin Mem in creation, 5,740, that's when I came down. Yeah. I agreed then that I would come down as a neshama and be a tzaddik. And they said, yeah, but look at your family, they're doing live aid, they're hanging around with
what? Live aid?
They're hanging around with Freddie Mercury and Elton John. Actually, my dad didn't like Elton John. Elton John was too far off, even for my father. He told me a whole story. I'll tell you one day. But he had a whole experience with Elton John. Wow. But these are the people that used to hang out with my family, like George Michael. These kind of guys. They're not the biggest tzaddikim, let's say. Yeah. Far from it. So if I'm going into a world where that's where my dad is every weekend, is by one of these people, who Springsteen, by one of these shows, and Barbara Streisand. I mean, she's Jewish, but he's by all these people, and that's what my soul agreed to come to such a home with that. Pictures on the wall of like Dizzy Gillespie playing the trumpet, but probably not the biggest tzaddik, and the Rolling Stones with the extra hand. That's the pictures on the wall. I didn't grow up with, like maybe you did, but I didn't grow up with like picture of of the Gedolim. That wasn't on my wall. I didn't have whoever was the Gadol in your time, Moshe Feinstein. I didn't have a picture of him on my wall. I had the opposite, mamish. So I'm just saying that has ashba, and I grew up with TV in the 80s, Michael Jackson and Nirvana in the 90s, and so
Simpsons.
Hashem showed the neshama was showing all the way you're going to have to face a lot of klippers, a lot of nisyonis before you're going to get anything of Yiddishkeit. Your experience of Yiddishkeit is going to be deformed, literally.
Right, yeah.
It's going to be a reform rabbi, who's going to talk nonsense about Yiddishkeit and not give you the true picture, the full picture. So, if you take their siddur, by the way, Mum has changed stuff. I've looked at it once. I don't know why I did.
Oh, in the reform,
it properly changed stuff. Like get rid of stuff like that. Don't speak a lot with your wife. Suddenly that whole section's gone. Yeah, they just delete what they don't want. Which is crazy. But anyway, so I mean, my friends would describe me when I went back to London last week. 2 weeks ago. They described to me on my parents' couch. They went to reform the mitzvah, and they said they only did 3 aliyahs. He said, "What's that about?" I said, "You're asking me? I don't know. Go ask them. I have no idea." I haven't been in a reform shul since I was a teenager. I have no idea. But it doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as 3 aliyahs. You're making up your own. It's beferish in the Gemara, 7 aliyahs. Like what you're making up? Every chumash has 7 aliyahs. Like
suddenly they wanted to make it quicker.
Yeah, kiddush or whatever. Now, so the point is, that was my neshama, was looking at that reality that I was going to have to face in London, and almost minimal Yiddishkeit. How am I going to be a tzaddik? Well, no chumash, no mishnayos, didn't even know what it was, Talmud was. How am I going to be excuse me, I got a little bit mixed up with the avos, considering where I grew up. I'd done pretty well, though. I suddenly messed up the beginning of Tanya for a second and corrected it. Because it's a Masechet Gemara Nida, and it's saying, Mashpiah Sefer. So there's a koyach from Ruchnis. This is why I'm doing this whole introduction. There's this koyach from Shemayim, and that vow is constantly mashpiah you. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in the most schmutzy place in the world, which I was, Magaluf, dancing with who knows what. And in that place, there's this constant presence of this vow that you'd said before you came to this world, you're going to be a tzaddik. And that's woke me up. I woke up in the dance floor of the worst places. I remember I was in this like European nightclub in London. It was only European girls. and maybe like one or two other people, yeah. And what came on? Billy Joel on the Rivers of Babylon. And I suddenly had one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, I'm a Jew. What am I doing here? Because suddenly, Mashpiah Moso, yeah, what am I doing on the River of Babylon? My neshama suddenly felt that I was being called by Shemayim, Mashpiah Moso, to be a tzaddik.
Sounds very trippy.
Yeah, I tripped out. I freaked out. And I had lots of moments like that where I was in the worst places and Hashem was still waking me up in those places. Because Mashpiah Moso was constantly there in your whole life. And when you feel like a bit down and out of it, it's one of the reasons is because you've got this holy neshama that's saying, be a tzaddik, and you're not. So there's truth to this. The only problem is you have to use it for the Ltov, not for the Zachor, not to end up depressed, like you said. It should be only bring you humility, which will then bring you to the next part of the Tanya, and this is why it's so important that Sarach Lavinhu, Tanan says in Avos. Now we're going to get to Pirkei Avos. It's going to be the balancing out of this previous Gemara. Don't see yourself as a Russia in your eyes. Really important. Straight away, the Tanya throws in the balance that Chassidus brings, that you can have humility, but it goes together with don't see yourself like a Russia.
Right.
Because why? Because what's the most important kind Chassidus from based on Arizal is Simcha.
Right.
And if you're going to see yourself as a Russia, you're going to see yourself.
Right.
Gam him beinav karasha. Yere levava v'yetzev v'lo yochel la'avodas la'avod Hashem b'simcha b'tzuv levav im lo yere levavo klam izeh yichol levo lidei chalas chas Hashem. So he explains it straight away. If a person is wicked, he will be grieved. He will be depressed. He will not be able to serve God with simcha, joyfully, and a happy heart, contented heart. While if his heart may not be grieved at all by self-appraisal, if you start holding of yourself, this is might lead to the other. So this is the balance.
Leads to atzvos.
Yeah, but there's the other side of it. If you don't humble yourself a little bit, what's going to happen? You're going to start. It says lidei kalos, which is like light heart. Everything becomes light. So Yiddishkeit starts to become like you miss the simcha, like you're making kiddush and you're bringing all the time and making achaims. You miss the simcha.
You see that also.
You don't have humility, and that's the other way around.
I think that's like a very interesting point because I see that. You see that like movement, like very close to that edge of like we just have to be with simcha. We have to be loving to myself. And you see, at least I saw a lot of this movement, especially in America.
America is so much shefa,
where people were kind of like in this state of, connecting to Hashem, but also being like,
so they think they're
Hashem accepts me for who I am,
but they go too far with it.
But then you go too far for it, and
they didn't get this balance that we're talking about here.
Like I know this person who was like telling me. And it came from a place of spirituality. Like I think this lady was like she's like my wife's friend. I don't know. She's like a Chabad. It's interesting also. She's like, Friday night, my minhag is I smoke a joint
on Shabbos.
I don't know, maybe before Shabbos. And she's like,
edibles now. Everyone's into edibles.
Edibles, right? And I'm not saying that's bad or not bad, but she was like, this is my avodah. Like Friday night is like I go, I get high, and then I make my
Unless they mentally need it, I think it's bad. I'll say it's bad.
Well, you'll say it's bad.
Why I say it's bad? Why not have Moshe finds it to be samachon?
Right.
But even then, without getting to the psak and the halakha with cannabis, if you need something outside of yourself to feel the geschmack of Shabbos, there's something like Shlomo Kalibach himself said, I used to get high from Shabbos. He didn't say because I had a l'chaim or anything else. He said, Shabbos itself makes me high.
Exactly. And you rob yourself of the authentic, real experience.
You don't need any external chemical, because once you start getting like that, then you become sort of addicted on a certain level.
Right.
Like the only way you're going to feel something is through unauthentic means, and that's the dangerous business. And I think there's a whole world out there developing now with psychedelics, and Jews are starting to get excited about all these alternative ways to feel high. But I don't care about feeling. Who says you got to feel anything? Yeah. What's it good about feeling? When suddenly Yiddishkeit, but did he mention anything about feeling here? He's giving you a very clear clarification. The Torah is very clear. There's no like touchy-feely nonsense. It's all like it's real clarity. it's real truth.
Yeah.
It's straight to the point, straight to Chazal, Masechtas Nida, very heavy Masechta, the end of Shas, and then straight to Pirkei Avos, the Masorah from our fathers, and it's straight to the truth that you have to have balance. You have to be a tzaddik, you have to aim to be a tzaddik, and Mashpiah Moshe to always be a tzaddik, and not to get caught up with thinking you're such a tzaddik that you're no longer striving to be a tzaddik, because now you think you're a tzaddik, so then you're going to go too far with that. And then the other way around, the balance of, but don't look at yourself as a Rasha, because then you're going to be depressed. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to forget that you're not the biggest tzaddik ever also, so you start taking Yiddishkeit like a joke.
Right, exactly.
Like it's just fun, and you can just do what you want kind of thing. And it's all about feelings. Whereas instead, it's not about feelings. It's about a clear mission of doing Ratzon Hashem. Ratzon Hashem is the Nakuda of being a tzaddik. You want to feel Shabbos? Do Ratzon Hashem. What's that mean? What Hilchos Shabbos, first thing. Right. And then you want to know how to connect to the Pnimis of Shabbos, learn about what Shabbos is on a Pnimis level. Right. But you need both. It's Shoma v'Zachor. It's Dibo Echa. My daughter came up to me and said she's learning Parshas Veschanan. And she told me, Lal Shabbos, she said that it's Shoma v'Zachor Dibo Echad. She learned how it was one concept, one aspect. I was like, very good. Yeah, she's only 12. I was like, very impressed. So I was like, good, that's Shabbos. It's to both aspects. We'd heard both at one time. Right. The balance of Shoma v'Zachor, of guarding Shabbos and honoring and all the honor, all this joy of the owning of Shabbos. And that balance is Am Yisrael, with be a tzaddik, but don't be a Rasha in your own eyes. And then back to, but you're probably, not the biggest tzaddik, so you got work to do. So
right, it's like this balancing act of trying to stay
simcha and anivus
within the balance of the two.
Yeah, and not to get lighthearted. And it's a test nowadays, because there is much more abundance, especially in America, right, where you could get caught up with the Kiddush Club, right, and that's your lifestyle.
No, I see. I saw that also the tremendous amount of almost like shefa or whatever you want to call it, that's just kind of pouring into.
Which we need shefa, but not
certain places, and there's no kalim, or the kalim are like very weak, and then you end up really. I've been down that road too. You end up just like really not.
Every Shabbos getting drunk, passing out from alcohol,
and it's a lot of it is like
instead
within the context of serving Hashem, but
you're making a l'chaim, but it should bring you to the next thing. Like, I finished my sudas, and I did have quite a good amount of whiskey. My wife was like keeping an eye on me. At one point, I went somewhere else, and they offered me another whiskey. She was like, I don't know if she'd have another one, but I felt I could, and I did, and I had a glass of water afterwards to balance it out. And then I went to Mincha and daven with Kavana, I hope, somewhat. Maybe it would have been better if I hadn't had the l'chaim. Maybe my wife was right. But the point is that you have to make that choice every Shabbos. How far am I going to go with the alcohol? Because it is around. Now, some places, like Tolna, they have no alcohol. Nothing. Right. The Rebbe's really not into that whole thing.
Moshe Weinberger also
doesn't want any alcohol.
There's no alcohol in a shul.
He's not interested in it. My Rebbe. So the English Chavra always end up sneaking in one or two Israelis.
They love to drink.
Yeah. They bring in a little bit and, share it around a little bit.
It's cold in Manchester.
No, it's not just, I don't mean just English as people from England. I'm talking also about the English speaking, however. So the Americans also.
It's interesting. America is very, you don't see it as much here in Israel. The drinking. It's like a very un-American thing, the alcohol. I wonder what that is. Although they do love Iraq here.
They like Iraq.
Iraq is
they have other things to make up for it. But remember, the Baba Sali would do Nissim with it. It was Avodas Hashem. But the concept is, either way, that we have to Mechaven Hashem Shemayim. We're trying to serve Hashem. We're trying to enjoy Shabbos, Onik Shabbos. Shama v'Zoch, Dibo Echad. Right. We're tuning into this balance of, and remember, this is the point of the Mashpiah Sefer, that there's this constant presence of you shall be a tzaddik. You have this image in your head of tzaddik, Ratzon Hashem, Shulchan Aruch, Shvisi Hashem Negdi Tamid. You're constantly in this zone of serving Hashem, being an Oved Hashem, and that means with simcha as well, and that means with humility, with anivus. And then we're going to see in Sefer Benonim, it's like walking a tightrope, because at any minute you could fall into being a Rasha if you give in and start acting against Hashem, God forbid. Right. So it pulls you up a level by learning a Sefer very much, because you're constantly tuning into doing Torah mitzvahs and the pnimis of it.
Right, if you really think about it, the whole idea of being in the Benonim it's less about tzaddik and Rasha. It's more about always keeping yourself balanced and in the middle, right? It's like if I were to say, the goal is to be the tzaddik. At some point, it's very hard to like still feel that balance of like, if I take one step here, it's like if you take one step here, it's more of like, always view it as if you're.
So I very much relate to what you just said, because I feel that I'm not putting down any other derech in Chassidus, but say when you learn Noam Elimelech,
right?
What's that sefer called? Sefer Tzaddikim.
Right.
Very high. I read it, I don't really understand, or you get something a little bit. It's very high. It's a sefer for Tzaddikim.
Right.
And then you learn Rabbi Nachman, Sefer B'Shayim, and Azam al Kodi, and you're getting chizuk from it, and there's a lot of chizuk, and you need the chizuk, and comes the Tanya. What it does is sort of that bridge, and it balances out, and it gives you that ability to not get obsessed with the tzaddik, where you like lose yourself, and not to get obsessed with your averis, chas shalom, that you think you're such a low person. Mm-hmm. You come to that true place of balance,
right,
where you are, but the way you're going to do it is by knowing the blueprint of the soul. That's what the Tanya is going to help clarify. It's going to give us the tools to understand the soul. One of the most important things I heard, I think, from Manis Feeman, is that people need to learn about their soul. And Rabbi Jacobson, all these Rabbonim, all these Mashpiim in Chabad, Shais Taub, we need to connect. Simon Jacobson. We need to connect into the soul level. How are we going to know how to connect to our neshama? By learning about it. We need to nourish that soul. We need to feed that soul. That's probably one of the most important things I learned in Tanya. You need to nourish your soul daily. That's why doing these daily learnings is so important, because you're going to say, I already learned this already. Years ago, 26 years ago, and I've been doing it every year since. Why do I keep reading it? Because your soul every day, and just like it needs food and drink and water, and you're strict about that, so too does your body needs food, drink and water. So does your soul need food, drink and water. So you have to be strict about that, disciplined about feeding your soul. And the Chassidus is going to give us the tools to connect to the soul level. And it is what you're saying. It's that balance. That's the soul. The soul is balanced. It's teferis. It's harmony. It's not this balagan, that the world is busy with. So, acha inyan.
Like there's the Indian of like, I heard of Moshe Weinberger. He said this once. Doesn't really like. There's like a song. Well, this whole Indian of like everyone's a big tzaddik. The song everyone's a big tzaddik.
From Joey.
Yeah. Moshe Weinberger did not like that, because he's like, everyone's not a big tzaddik. He's like, and that's fine. He's like, that's not true.
Yeah, I can picture him saying that.
He's like, no.
He doesn't like it when you call people tzaddik.
He's like,
tzaddik, come bo. Tzaddik, come here. People say that. But you're not
like
really meaning
He's like, you know what a tzaddik is? Like, a tzaddik is. And I think he says, like, when people's like, oh, this is heaven. He's like, heaven? He's like, heaven? He's like, the pizza's heaven?
I'm starving. He starts at every word. Chill out. Well, chill out. What do you mean chill out?
But he's very not into.
He breaks down all these lashonas.
Right.
People have got caught up in speaking. Like even his own children, he has a go at them.
Right. And so that song where it's like everyone's a big tzaddik. He's like, that's not true. Not everyone's a big tzaddik, and that's fine. He's like, we're just we're baining him. We're not tzaddikim.
Yeah, halavai we should be. We're going to learn what Beinani is. Halavai we should be a Beinani.
Right. Well, yeah.
Once you learn what Beinani is, like it's like the Rabbah from the Gemara, like it's big madrigas. But nevertheless, we could be a level of a Beinani somewhere or another. That's another important thing. Some people write into Chabad, columns, and they say I'm getting depressed from learning Tanya because I can't even be a Beinani, so that makes me a Rasha. Then I'm feeling really down. And so they were like, no, you're not understanding the point of the Tanya. Right. Tanya is to give you the she'ifot, the ability to climb higher, and give you the tools to understand how your neshama works. It's not to then define yourself. I'm a tzaddik, I'm a rasha, I'm a beinani. That's all external. It's like, remember we said about with Breslov as well, getting into the whole flag bearing. Mashiach flag. When in the Chabad, are you Mashiach or not? Do you believe the Rebbe was Mashiach or not? Don't take me down that road. I just want to learn how to connect to Ratzon Hashem. That's what the Rebbe himself wanted. He wanted us to do Ratzon Hashem. He didn't care what define yourself. Are you a Mashiachist or he doesn't. I ever hear the Rebbe talk about that? Never. So it's like there's no Mashiachist. It's nonsense. He wants Yidden to be Mashiach to Yidden, but he doesn't want them to like wave a flag with his face on it. Yeah, I'm sure he did not ask the Chassidim to do that. Yeah, but it's totally out. The Chassidim went and took it and ran with it. Yeah. But no one asked us to become flag waving people. I'm this, I'm that. Everyone's so into definitions.
That's what I love about, like, in a way. I mean, here in Eretz
It's
Yisrael,
very
you
external.
see it, but
It's not
in Eretz
true.
Yisrael, like when someone's like, I'm a Breslover, there's no like Chasidus like there is of like today. There's like there's like bells and there's Satmar and there's Babib.
But there is become a mostess of Breslov.
With Breslov, there's become more of like a
has become that. There is Breslov
become more of like a Chabura.
Yeah,
it becomes
Chaburas.
more of a community, but it's not like it's like I'm Breslov. It's more of like
there's lots of different Mashpiim in Breslov.
Right,
so,
there's Mashpiim and there's
so they have their Chavra who, and they can get really into it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm happy I'm not part of any specific Breslov Chabura in that way, because I don't want to externalize it.
I love the story that Shlomo
I just
said
want
about
to
Shabbos.
connect to the Mashpiim, what they say, not the fan club.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I want to get to the real point, not get caught up with the, making too much issue out of a person and the mostess and the finances and all the headache stuff that goes with it.
That comes with it.
Yeah, and this is the point here, that you're getting into the panemius of your neshama. Your neshama's mashpimos. It's totally panemius. It's between you and Hashem. It's the shemayim talking to you and saying like, be a tzaddik, ad mei v'esrim. So you're looking at yourself. You're not looking at this whole world out there. And then how are you going to be a tzaddik? How are you sameach with other people? How are you sameach with Torah mitzvahs, with Am Yisrael in the world? But the first thing, it comes from that panemius havtacha, that promise that you're going to be a tzaddik. So let's carry on. We're going to go into this Gemara. There's 5 distinct types of a righteous man who prosper. We're going to see this whole Inyan, this based on a Gemara, and it's a Gemara in Brachas. We know this Gemara, we've all learned it at some point. It's 5 different divisions of how it explains the way people. It does make definitions, but we're going to be doing it through Chazal and through Torah, not making up our own. Tzaddik v'tovlo, Tzaddik v'ralo, Rasha v'tovlo, Rasha v'ralo, v'beinani. These are the 5 distinctions it does make. And once again, we're not going to stick ourselves and decide where we are in this. Yeah, there's a tzaddik that's good to him, a tzaddik that's not good to him, a Rasha that's good to him, a Rasha that's not good to him.
Meaning the world is good to him.
Yeah, and beinani. Yeah, that would make what you just said.
Right.
That it's about prosperity and success. Yeah.
Whatever that even is, what the Tov is, it could be all a mindset.
Yeah.
All right.
Because then he doesn't need to go through any more suffering. Why? Because he's a complete person.
Right.
If he's a tzaddik gomer. But if he's not a tzaddik, then he needs to still go through some.
Yeah, but sometimes you find I find that challenging. You find the tzaddikim that have it like.
That's why you can't define it.
So
you can't go around saying he's a tzaddik gomer, he's a tzaddik ain't a gomer. How do you know?
We don't know.
Shlomo Kalibach says, "You never know, because you don't know what's inside people's hearts. You don't have to have a
even if
Yetzirah,
they're ticking, someone's ticking can be crazy, and so their life is so difficult.
Yeah.
So people, maybe it's not such a huge ticking.
You'd probably think of him as a tzaddik gomer, but look at he had a very sick wife. He had all kinds of yisurim. I think one of his daughters just has some disability. It's so much. Then you think such a tzaddik, and then even like recently within the news, there's Gabayim kidnapped him, all this crazy stuff that goes on, and you're thinking like, how can it be such a tzaddik,
you see that a lot with these huge tzaddikim. The Gabayim come in and they're like,
they're like the Gabayim of the Kapara, Shem
Yeah.
Shemena. That's why I didn't ever want to be called a Gabbai when I was by Rav Orish.
Right.
People kept calling me the Gabbai Rav Orish. No, don't call me that. I want to be a Gabbai.
right, it's not a great.
I'll be a manager of his Torah or something, or his websites, but I'm not a Gabbai. Gabbai then takes me into that whole world of Gabbayas where you can end up.
Especially at Barish, it's like very territorial there.
So I got out of that, thank God. But anyway, Peirusho, and he explains in the Gemara, Tzaddik v'tovlo. Tzaddik v'gomo, Tzaddik ralo. So the Gemara explains, the Tzaddik tovlo, Tzaddik gomo, Tzaddik v'ralo. Tzaddik she'ena gomo, Re'eh b'emunah, Pas b'shpotim Tzaddik v'ralo, Shara shabo, Gefuf Ltov. So straight away, before we get into the Zohar, which is what he's bringing later on, he's bringing this. That before we have to understand that there's a righteous man who suffers. Yeah. Why? Because what's the reason? Let's explain it. Because tzaddik eino gomer. Yeah, she'eino gomer. So the reason why it's not good for him because he's a tzaddik she'eino gomer. If he was Tzaddik Gomor, he wouldn't have to keep going through suffering. Because he
Right.
cleansed himself. So but the Zohar takes us to the next level, and that's Raya Mumuna, which is Parshas Mishpatim is a holy Zohar. The Zohar is from Shem Bayachai, Panemius, Perish Tzaddik Viralo Shavashabo Kafuf Ltov. The Tzaddik, and it's not good to him, is that the Ra in him is subjugated to good.
As an inner state.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. That inner state, the Lashon of inner state is the key word, because it's about the inner aspect of the person. It's not just about, like you said, how the world deals with him. It's where he's at, and he's subdued his Yetzer Hara.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still got some evil there.
Right.
So what does it mean? Complete tzaddik, not complete
Right.
tzaddik, suffers, doesn't suffer.
I guess here he defines the word kafuf as suppressed. Right?
Yeah.
What does kafuf mean?
Kafuf means subservient, like
subservient.
Yeah, it's like subdued.
Subdued, right. I guess that could be a
Like
word.
bent. Literally means bent, I
Right.
think. But the concept is just suspending your...
Meaning
the
so
evil
that
to
the Ra in
to the
him is
good.
not actually removed. It just means that he's almost like overriding the bad within him. And so the bad still exists, whatever, we'll call it the word bad, right? Even though, I don't know. I don't like the word Russia being bad.
Yeah.
It just is
The rabbi never used the word bad. He always said
Right.
not good.
Here they have the word bad. I'm going to write it.
He was Loshin He was very careful.
I'm going to write Chaim Miller.
No, he's just... Chaim Miller's a clever guy. He's just making sure we don't get confused.
Right.
Because people would more likely use the word bad than...
I would rather use the word evil than bad. Because bad is like a...
Here, he uses here wicked.
Wicked. Wicked's better also, right?
Yeah.
I like
In England, wicked means good, by the way.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is my... Oh, wow. This
So wicked,
What do
man.
they call
Or
beer?
sick. Even people say that now.
What's another
Even
word they
Americans
call
say
beer?
that. So sick. I heard a Rav say, that's sick.
That's sick. What do they call beer? They don't have a word for beer in England.
Yeah.
Oh, his pub is mighty wicked. Mighty wicked.
So everything's gone topsy-turvy nowadays. What's wicked, what's sick, it's all
Quits.
flipped around.
They call it quits. A quid.
Yeah, quid.
Quid is
Quid is
mighty
money,
wicked.
yeah.
Mighty wicked.
It's all this like slang and stuff. But the
You
point
from
is,
Manchester?
from London.
Oh, okay.
In Manchester speak a whole different
I
way.
have a cousin that was coming to stay by us at the end of January.
Cool.
He's from Manchester.
Nice.
He has such a thick Manchester accent.
Oh, we're going to have some fun. I
I
bet you know some of my boys
I
from
don't know
Manchester.
what he's talking
I got a lot
about.
of friends there.
He's like also like a real Machar, so he knows everyone.
I haven't been to Manchester for a while. Like a year or two.
Aha, okay, so
anyway.
anyways, yes, so Varalo, She'ina Gabor Maria, Vehemna, Parsha Mishpatim, Perish, Tzaddik, Varalo, Varalo, Shaharasha, Bo Kafuf Latov.
Yeah, so that's the problem. When you're in a world of everything's getting mixed up, so that's not good. So we have to keep clarifying that.
I like that definition. Obviously, I don't. The Zohar does not need my askama, but I personally appreciate it because
that's
I never
Panemius.
liked the whole idea of Varalo, a Tovla that he has or that
That's
he doesn't
why
have.
it's a bit too black and white if you just learn it very
Right.
That's why I don't like the definition game, because you're missing you have to define things, but you have to do it with an awareness. So
Right.
there's nuance, there's Panemius,
Right.
there's an inner reality, and the inner reality is really what's going to bring you to the truth.
Uh-huh.
And if you get caught up with the external reality, you're going to get lost in all the different external definitions that never
Right.
end. And that's why it's so important to go inwards. And that Zohar brings us inwards. That's why I like what you said, in the inner
Right.
state. That's a good one.
Oh,
The inner state is really what matters. It's the mindset. It's the inner approach. That's what's going to make the difference. So just to end off,
Yeah.
it then brings a Gemara, famous Gemara, the Sefer Perek test. The brachas Tzaddikim Yetzer Tov Shotfin, V'chulu R'shaim Yetzer Hara Shotfin, Beinanim Zeh V'zeh Shotfin, and that's how it sounds. That's how you think a Beinani would be. He's got like a balance between his Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. But we know that that's all on a Panemius level. Yeah, that does not mean in action. In action, we're going to see the definition of a Beinani is he never does any of those.
Yeah.
I'm a Rabba Kigon Ana Beinani. Yeah, so look, Rabba himself says straight away, I'm a Beinani. So once Rabba's calling himself a Beinani, and you'd call him a Tzaddik,
Right.
or any normal human being would call him a Tzaddik, he's calling himself a Beinani. Now we got just a whole, complicated addition to the sugya, which we're going to have to deal with tomorrow. That if Rabba's a Beinani who basically learns Torah endlessly, never does Averis, so then if that's what the Beinani is, he never does Averis, and he's always davik to Ratzon Hashem.
Right.
So then what does that make us?
No, that's not exactly a great...
Because never doing sin. Yeah.
Right.
So then a Beinani is someone who never does sin. So then if we're going to get nervous about definitions, which is why I don't want to go down there,
Right.
we're going to end up thinking that we're Chas v'Shalom a Rasha because we're doing Averis, yeah?
Yeah.
So the answer is, we're going to see, without getting into the whole sugya of Tanya, but we're going to learn Tanya and get the answer, hopefully in a much clearer way than the very short summary we're doing now.
The long, short way.
Yeah, the short way is that we are connected on the inner level to the Beinani as a derech of how we want to grow in Chassidus.
Right.
And that's why we're going to learn the Sefer Benonim, to connect ourselves in how to be like a Beinanim, but not to assume that we're holding at that level. That we have to work. It's a constant she'ifa, it's a constant desire to go towards that path of being a Beinanim. And the way we're going to do it is by knowing that we have a Mashpiah Moso, a vow that we took upon ourselves before we came into this world, and it influences our whole life to be a Tzaddik. And that gives us ability to pull us up
and goes back to
the level.
Mashpiah.
Yeah, pulls us up back to the level of being a Beinani, and not getting down of the level of the Rasha. We're not going to be shy of that, because we're learning Sefer Benonim to be in that world, the world of the Beinani. So he's including us in this true beautiful place.
Yashakach.
Yeah, we should be Zachor.
Amen. We have to daven on this.
Yeah, this is going to be a big project.